Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Minnesota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
And good morning, everybody. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. This is when you would normally hear Mr. Kreitlow come on the air, but he is down with probably a tasty drink in his hand somewhere down south, taking a few days of well-deserved vacation. I am Todd Allbaugh here in our studios in beautiful Hayward, Wisconsin, where we are camped out for the next couple of days as we cover the 50th annual American Birkebeiner here in our studios, WBZH, the Buzz of the North, and joined by our producer, engineer, and co-host for the morning, live from Waukesha, Wisconsin, WAUK, Mr. Greg Bach, down south. Speaking of, you're not quite as far down south as Pat Kreitlow.
No. Although I feel like the temperature today will be close to what he's experiencing right now.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, This is just crazy. I know Brittany Merlot, our meteorologist here at Civic Media, was a busy individual. She was on this yesterday morning with us, and then with you and Jane, and with Matt and Aaron on the air. And then she came on our show in the afternoon, a little after noon. And the weather is a large part of the Birkebeiner up here this year because we hit, I think, 46, 47 yesterday, and they were trying to make snow. They still are making snow below zero right now in the high 20s, but it's going to warm up once again today. Then for Friday and Saturday, it's actually going to cool down just a tad. But how hot did it get down in Milwaukee yesterday area, southeast Wisconsin?
At the top, I saw 56 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, it was, as we say back in Richland Center, pert near 60. I mean, got pretty close to that. And I believe some places in the state today could see those record-topping temperatures of near 60 degrees. So probably not the case up here in northern Wisconsin, but still, it's gonna be warm for the end of February here. Temperatures across the state right now, as we take a look at the weather radar, or the temperatures, I should say, it's still cool up here in the North Woods, at least for February. 27 degrees right now in most places, kind of across from our area in Hayward up towards Duluth. Down near Eau Claire, already 29 degrees. Wausau this morning, a little bit cooler at 20 degrees. Green Bay, just shy of 23. And then we go down into the Oshkosh area, 28 degrees. Richland Center right at 31. Oshkosh at 29. Madison this morning at 36 degrees. And down in Racine, Kenosha, if I can move my computer there we go. Down already at 41 degrees now in Racine, Kenosha. 32 right at the freezing mark of the Milwaukee area. Of course, yesterday we had some of that freezing fog, particularly in northern Wisconsin, which made driving a little slickery in the early mornings. Not so much the case this morning. Most of our driving conditions are good winter driving conditions. There are a couple of small exceptions here. As we zoom in the radar this morning, we can tell you that Highway 53, if you are just north of Eau Claire, kind of more from New Auburn up to near Rice Lake, in that area right in there, Chetek to New Auburn right now. A small slippery stretch there on Highway 53, and then zooming in over to northern Door County, say just south of Sturgeon Bay, all the way up to the tip of the thumb there in Door County. So Door County, probably because that Lake Michigan effect and some of that fog moving in there, and that precipitation, that moisture from Lake Michigan, making things a little slickery as temperatures still right around or just below that freezing mark in Door County, and also just south of Marinette near Peshtigo. No fire today in Peshtigo, but still, slick roads just north of Peshtigo this morning. So
that's a beautiful area, Peshtigo.
It is. You've been out there before?
Oh, yeah. My friend's grandmother used to own a string of cabins right along the Peshtigo Bridge on the river. Mm-hmm. We go there every year and just camp out and have boys weekend.
Oh, very nice. It is, particularly in the fall. I mean, when the leaves turn color up there, the birch trees and everything. My dad lived in Marinette for a while, so I used to go up there occasionally. And beautiful part of the state, but a little slickery on the roads near Peshtigo this morning. Be careful the cow doesn't kick over the lamp or whatever it was that started the fire. I shouldn't be laughing about the Peshtigo. It was a tragic event, but it was.
I mean, but hey, we move on. And,
we move on.
And we got to laugh about some things, can't we?
That's right. Well, it's going to be another gorgeous day again for weather in terms of walking around and that sort of thing today. in northern Wisconsin. But again, we would like a little bit of snow or a little bit of a cooler temperatures to make that snow. Not the case here. But it has been great to kind of walk around a little bit over the last day or so. Not so much yesterday, we were on the air a lot, but the day before. And just to, again, talk to some of the folks here. Lots of people in the Cable and Hayward area for the 50th Annual American Birkebeiner. Great to hear those Scandinavian accents when you go to the grocery store and whatnot. Our own Terry Barr was along yesterday, and she has covered this event before for various media outlets that she has worked for. And actually, we had folks on from the Wisconsin Education Network, and one of those people, their spouse, is actually going to be racing in the event, and they're coming up here. And they pointed out yesterday that such a community event here in Hayward Cable area, that the Catholic Church, or one of the Catholic churches, hosts a big spaghetti dinner every year. And people just load up on carbs because, some of these people are skiing for 20 and 30 kilometers plus sometimes if you put in the practice rounds. And so you have to have a lot of carbohydrates to maintain that metabolism. And so the Catholic Church gets involved today, starting at 10 o'clock up near the trailhead. The Hayward Lions Club is going to be sponsoring a great food stand, German brats, hot pretzels, and of course, assorted beverages of every kind. So it's a great event for the community to get involved. A lot of the planning, it lasts all year. So literally, after this is done, after a couple of weeks, they'll start getting ready for the 51st Annual American Birkebeiner. It takes the entire year. It takes the entire community. But it's just another example of the great spirit of the state of Wisconsin, and particularly takes a lot of spirit in challenging times like this. People have asked, how are they having the Birkebeiner in weather like this? Well, they made the decision last week it was going to be cold enough at night. What they're doing is using snow machines from various ski hills around the area, as much as 2 hours away, making snow at night and then trucking it in. And they have groomers and grooming machines laying it down on the trails, and that's the way they're getting it done. So the Birkebeiner will go on. They are going to have it. Going to be more challenging than usual. Normally it would start at Cable, Wisconsin, and end here in Hayward, about 20 miles away. But instead, they're doing a loop, about a 10-kilometer loop. And so they're going to be doing that and laying the snow down, and everything will be okay. Again, thanks to the spirit of the people of the Hayward and Cable area. I want to begin this morning. This really should be the top headline, I think, for most, if not all, news organizations today, that more and more information is coming out on the national scene in terms of this Russian asset, this informant that Republicans used in the United States Congress to try to bring, and still are, impeachment proceedings against President Biden. And of course, trying to indict and go after President Biden's son, Hunter, as well. And it came out over the last weekend, that the charges brought by this guy, this informant, so to speak, is nothing but a Russian asset. So literally, the actions of the United States Congress are being dictated by a Russian asset. Yesterday on CNN, or during a gaggle, as they say in press terms, Manu Raju from CNN caught up with GYM Jim Jordan. We call him GYM Jim Jordan because, of course, back when he was a wrestling coach at Ohio State, there were several young men, wrestlers, that were being sexually assaulted. That was proven by the team doctor. They went to Jim Jordan when he was assistant wrestling coach there, and he refused to listen to him. Then when he ran for Congress, got in Congress, he called some of these young men in tears, begging them not to talk about this because it would ruin his political career. Unfortunately, it is not yet, but we shall see. That's why we call him GYM Jim Jordan. So Manu Raju caught up with GYM Jim Jordan yesterday, who's a United States congressman who's leading these, pun intended, trumped up charges against Joe Biden. And he said, look, here, you have a Russian asset. Are you still going after the president, even though this turns out to be all false? Here was that little bit of interview yesterday on CNN.
About the president's involvement in a bribery scheme, now that Alexander Smirnov is proven to have made it up, and it was based off Russian intelligence.
Doesn't change the four fundamental facts. Hunter Biden was put on the board of Burisma, gets paid $1 million a year. Fact number two, he's not qualified to be on the board. He said so himself in an interview, I don't know, with you or some network. Fact number 3, Zolochevsky and Pizarski, the 2 executives at Burisma, specifically asked Hunter Biden, can you weigh in with D.C. and help us deal with the pressure we are facing from the prosecutor? Fact number 4, Joe Biden, then he gets called. Hunter Biden calls his dad, according to Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's business partner. Fact number 4, Joe Biden then goes to Ukraine 3 days later and conditions the release of the money, American tax money, on the firing of the prosecutor who was applying the pressure to the company that Hunter Biden sat on the board of.
You said the 1023 is the most corroborating piece of information you have.
It corroborates, but it doesn't change those fundamental facts. So now
it's not true.
Well, so it's the FBI told us that this source was so 14.
All right, so I kind of cut out there. But the point is that GYM Jim Jordan, is still adamant that they're going to use information. I think he goes through this kind of laundry list of things that, he calls them facts, all right? But he won't answer the point that the main fact he's trying to live on is this guy. The whole case is built around this Smirnoff guy. And it turns out he's a Russian asset. And still, GYM Jim Jordan's going after him. When we come back, we're going to listen to another cut from Representative Jared Makosowicz from Florida about these false claims and kind of taking it to Congressman Jim Jordan. We'll listen to that when we come back. Also, Greg Bach and I will do a Swedish dance here in honor of the Birkenbeiner. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Do I need to play some like Allbaugh while you're doing it?
Oh my God. I did go to IKEA last week. That's where these chairs came from. I'm not making that up.
The studio is so in touch with the Birkenbeiner energy. We got meatballs for everybody.
I only wish Mr. Bachman had Swedish meatballs this morning. That would be good. I do have a little coffee, courtesy of our friends at Wonder State Coffee Roastery in Viroqua, Wisconsin, one of only 5 all-solar roasteries in the world. You can find it right here. Yes, find it right in Southwest Wisconsin. Wonder State Coffee. Enjoy it wherever you buy your coffee.
I've got coffee provided by Dunkin' Donuts K-Pods. All right, cool. All right.
Dunkin' Donuts K-Pods. All right. Well, coming up next, we're going to talk more about this Russian intelligence, the asset that is controlling not controlling, but controlling much of the information that the Republicans are using in Congress. Don't go anywhere. It is Civic Media Mornings in for Up North News on a Thursday, the 22nd of February on Civic Media.
Apprentice, got free training, and have been able to advance. Now I'm a superintendent running high-profile projects in Milwaukee that change the city skyline. I'm looking for skilled and experienced carpenters. If you want to join my team.
All right, I got the clip up with him on MSNBC. Do you know where in the clip it's?
I think just the clip I said was the one entitled Rep. Jared Makosowicz.
Oh, okay. Let me check.
Makosowicz.
Oh, there we go. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all
just
right,
that.
cool.
We'll take that whole clip, please.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Yep.
Welcome back to Civic Media this morning. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Greg Bach. We are filling in for Pat Kreitlow this morning, who is on a well-deserved vacation. Mr. Bach down at our studios in Waukesha, WAUK. I am up in truly up in North, the woods, here in Hayward, Wisconsin, at WBZH, the buzz of the North, as we are here covering the Birkenbeiner for the 50th anniversary thereof. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later on in the show. Right now, we're the lead story this morning, that this Russian asset, which is now proven to be a Russian informant, that Russia is controlling the narrative from Republicans in Congress in terms of this attempted impeachment of President Joe Biden. We played you the cut from CNN in the last segment, in which GYM Jim Jordan, congressman, who is leading this charge in the House, and saying, look, I don't care that this guy is a Russian asset, basically, that, we're going to move forward anyway. Well, here now, a colleague of Congressman Jordan, this is Congressman Jared Moskowitz, Democrat of Florida, on the false impeachment claims.
They're coming and saying, Wolf, that this doesn't change anything. You know why it doesn't change anything? Because it never had to be true. They don't care that it's true. They wanted it to be true so bad that they birthed it. Okay, they wanted to make this the Garden of Eden of the impeachment process into Joe Biden, this $5 million that there really was never any corroborating evidence. But the Russian intelligence wanted to find useful idiots in Congress. And you know what? The American people already know this. They found them. They put it out there. Hundreds of interviews they did on television and in newspapers and on podcasts for 6 or 7 months talking about this. And it was all fake. It was all false. The impeachment inquiry should end, period.
There is a Congressman Jared Moskowitz, Democrat of Florida, on MSNBC last night, talking about these Republicans like GYM Jim Jordan, who are bringing these ridiculous charges against the president, which are completely based, now we know, on Russian asset. This guy from Russia. This is what our friend Stuart Stevens, former Republican like myself, only at much higher levels, helped run the George W. Bush campaign, Mitt Romney's campaign, left the Republican Party, is now part of the Lincoln Project, which their main goal is to defeat Donald Trump and Trumpism. This is a guy who knows the Republican Party inside and out. This is what he wrote last night on Twitter, Stuart Stevens. He said, quote, Vladimir Putin looked at Donald Trump as a weak man who would do anything for power. Donald Trump looked at the Republican Party as weak men and women who would do anything for power. Both were right. A major American political party is now compromised and extending Russia's power to attack the West. Nothing like this has ever happened in American history. Until we acknowledge it and respond, what it means to be an American will die a little more each day. I agree with Stuart Stevens, 100%. If you'd like to weigh in, love to hear from you this morning. On the phone lines, Greg Bach is standing by to take your calls, 844-967-2789, 844-967-2789. You can also text us on the Civic Media app. If you don't have it, you can download it to your Apple or Android device. Just go to your app store, type in Civic, C-I-V-I-C. It'll pop up, a great little logo there. It says CM. Click on that. Takes less than a minute. It is free. It's what Gail King at CBS calls a deal. I agree with Stuart Stevens 100% on this. That to have a Russian asset controlling the narrative, and even after that is exposed, most Republicans, not all, but most Republicans don't want to acknowledge this. And I agree with Stuart Stevens, and he's a guy that knows that one major American political party is now compromised and extending Russia's power to attack the West. You say, well, Todd, that's just a one-off. They got duped by a Russian asset. Well, do you think it's just coincidence that some of these same people who are now defending this in the Republican Party and the House of Representatives especially are also the ones that refuse to approve Ukrainian aid? I'm not sure if you've looked lately at the journalism, the great journalism, the powerful journalism that's coming out of Ukraine. There are a couple of pieces on television a couple of nights ago. I literally had to look away. I don't have particularly a weak stomach. But it was a great documentary that's coming out on Ukraine. I think it's called 20 Days in Mariupol. And a videographer, a filmmaker, spent 20 days in Mariupol with doctors. And some of the atrocities happening in Ukraine perpetrated by Vladimir Putin are not just heartbreaking, doesn't even begin to cover it. And then you hear from Trump last night in South Carolina at the primary, in a debate on Fox News, that we, quote, we've put in so much more money than Europe. And it's absolutely false. Absolutely false. The EU has put in far more pledges, far more actual money than the United States. And these same Republicans in Congress who are defending a Russian asset and trying to impeach Joe Biden are the same people who are denying Ukrainian aid to move through Congress. That's the tragedy of this. And it seems like either the Republicans can't see, don't have the ability to see, or I believe, even worse, refuse to admit, and in some cases perhaps are even complicit in helping to drive the Russian narrative and the Russian mission. And Americans, particularly us here in Wisconsin, need to wake up and understand that if Ukraine falls to Russia, Eastern Europe is next. Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Estonia. And those countries are part of NATO. An attack on one would be seen as an attack on all. And if that happens, there will be American men and women in uniform who will have to go on the ground and who will ultimately die in battle. The best way, the safest way for Americans to have that not happen is to approve the Ukrainian aid, which, of course, Mitt Romney, Republican senator from Utah, reminds us, is only about less than 5% of the American military budget. It is literally a small monetary price to pay compared with what we will have to pay within American lives if Putin wins in Ukraine. 844-967-2789, 844-967-2789. I understand this is kind of a heavy topic to start off with on a Thursday morning at 6:28, but I think it's important to have this information, to know what's going on. Was in politics for 30 years, left the Republican Party in 2011 over voter suppression issues. I have never seen anything like this. And this from the party Ronald Reagan once led, in which he stood at the Berlin Wall and said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Called the Soviet Union the evil empire, of which Vladimir Putin was part of, the KGB was part of. And now the same party that Reagan once led, whether you agree with this policy is domestically or otherwise or not, I mean, here was a party that at least stood for something. Said, you know what, we're going to actually make the communists and the Soviet Union the bad guys. And we're going to actually stand for something. And now the same party is standing up for Vladimir Putin while American democracy slowly dies. It can be saved with your vote. Give us a call, 844-967-2789. Back on the other side, some news, some weather, some sports. Don't go anywhere. This is Civic Media This Morning on Civic Media.
Where do you want to go in this segment?
Let's hang on a second. Let me check my notes. I got another cut. Let me see if I can find it. Hang on a second.
Okay.
I just sent it to you. This says, cut Trump town hall and Fox propping him up. It's just ridiculous. Can you feel that? Can you feel the concern for you in the audience?
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Yep.
can bring in, whereas a customer can't rely on neighbors and family like they used to necessarily.
John Osterhaus, he is the new president of the Wisconsin Custom Operators. He owns and operates Silver Streak Ag Services in Chadwick, Illinois. He said right now they've got about 150 members, part of the Wisconsin Custom Operators. Markets and overnight electronic trade as we get started on a Thursday morning. Still swimming in red ink. Numbers are next. Fabulous Farm Babe. Glad to be joined in studio today by Doug Munson. He is the gentleman that is working in conjunction with the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board to make things happen here in the state of Wisconsin. What starts in Wisconsin can have a ripple effect across the United States.
That's what we always hope for, is what are those ripple effects? For every dollar that's invested, it's a return of $12.34. How those investments really bring value, they can be debated or they can be looked at in many different ways. Biodiesel brings, I think we say over $1 now. Years ago before inflation, we'll say it was 63 cents to a bushel of soybeans that brought that value. Whether it's 63 cents or it's $1, it's $1.34, which we've heard as high as that amount. That's a huge amount of value to your bushel of soybeans. So those are the things that are ripple effects, right? That can start in Wisconsin or sometimes at the national level, but have big impact in the world of soybean.
Doug Munson in studio with me on behalf of the Wisconsin Soybean Association and the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board, the financial driving force behind our research that's done here in the state of Wisconsin. For more, pop on over to cornsoyexpo.org. No change yesterday on barrel cheese prices or AA butter. The 40-pound block cheese did go up 1/4 cent to $1.52.5. This morning, December new crop corn is unchanged at $4.56. November new crop beans up a nickel at $11.50. July new crop wheat currently down a penny at $5.77. March class 3 milk is up 21 cents, $17.19 a hundredweight. Just a quick snapshot of what's happening as far as the markets are concerned for a Thursday morning. More at MidwestFarmReport.com. I'm Pam Yankee.
The Shaw, WAUK.
Mostly sunny today. We'll get to 50 for a high this afternoon with wind out of the northwest at 5 to 10. Tonight, mostly clear. We'll drop down to 30. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, cooler with a few flurries possible. Our high 37. And then on Saturday, it'll be mostly sunny with a high near 38. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Temperature now 30.
The Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Jam from Racine, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, Jam.
I voted for Reagan back in the day. I guess I've been supporting more of the Democratic Party for the last 40 years or so, but people that say, oh man, she's a Republican, she's a Democrat, she's a whatever. I'm a human being. All these other things aren't important. We need to unite against a bigger threat. I think the threat is us becoming dictatorship. They want us to fail.
The Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Weekday afternoons from 4 until 6 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. Your home for the Devil's Advocates. Weekday afternoons from 4 until 6.
Morning, it is now 34 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Thursday, the 22nd of February. Glad to have you along. We are live here at Hayward, Wisconsin. We are truly up north. Up North News is taking the week off, as Pat Kreitlow is taking the week off as well. He'll return next week. We have Greg Bach here, though, joining us as he does every morning from Waukesha, Wisconsin. WAUK. Greg was popping down in Milwaukee.
Well,
or Waukesha.
The Shaw.
I know. See, I like to say Milwaukee, and you can't really say Waukesha. And that doesn't.
Well, when people mispronounce, they always call it Waukesha.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I got Wakusa once. I'm like, there's the U is further in that. You're okay. Just
well, a lot of these names are Native American or based on Native American names. So for some people not from Wisconsin, it's hard to pronounce.
Absolutely, and it's so fun to watch. We're like, can you pronounce these Wisconsin names of towns and cities? And they're like, Okanoman, Okanwalk.
I know.
But no, so the sun's coming up. The temperature is about 54 degrees. Mr. Earl Ingram just got into the studio. He's starting to prep. Oh yeah, he gets in early, starts prepping for his show at 8 o'clock. Could be following this show. You can hear us on WAUK. And just rocking and rolling, playing a little Smooth Criminal by Alien Ant Farm.
Very nice.
In tribute to the man you're talking about now.
Yes, I appreciate that, Greg Bach. Nice segue there. Smooth Criminal, indeed, 91 indictments. 91 indictments against former President Donald Trump right now. And he was on the Fox last night. Fox on the Run, the Fox News Network last night, having a town hall. And I'm not sure, I'm forgive me for not knowing all of my Fox News, and I use this term loosely, hosts. But there was one last night, and honest to God, you could have dressed up a mannequin in a blonde wig, and you would have had a better host for this thing, a better moderator. At some point, I did not watch. I was sleeping in the futon. By the way, I'm still sleeping on the futon here in the plush studios at WBZH. It's a lean budget. You understand? This is still a startup, and so I'm making my way on the couch. So it's fine.
This is DIY punk rock radio.
They're only small rats, so we're getting along absolutely fine. I'm just kidding. But no, so I did not watch this last night, but I did see a couple of clips after I took a long, 5-hour nap, and so the Trumpster was down in trying to get votes away from Nikki Haley, having this town hall, and at one point, the interviewer brings in the fact that people are praying for you and worried for you. Well, listen for yourself. Here's what happened on Fox last night with the Trumpster.
I mean, if you don't mind me asking, because I know this is a very faith-filled audience here, and I know there are people across the globe pray for you and your safety. They're worried about your safety.
No, they are.
And they want. Do you feel that? Do you feel the power of that?
I do, but can I be honest? I worry about their safety too. These people, everybody in this room is in great danger right now. We have a nuclear weapon that if you hit New York, South Carolina is going to be gone too. I worry about their safety. I think it's the reason I'm doing this.
I think it's the reason I'm doing this. We have a nuclear weapon, he said. We? Like the United States? Like if we launch a weapon against ourselves in New York, South Carolina's gone? I mean, it just made no sense, right?
I mean, it's like, oh, you wanted us to bomb Georgia, the country. Whoops. Cue Curb theme and Curb Your Enthusiasm theme. What I love about that clip, it's just peak chef's kiss Donald Trump is there's a Laura Ingraham who is,
that's who she is. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. The whatever.
Blonde bimbo. I'll say it.
All right. Your words, not mine. But when she says people are praying for you, that's a nice sentiment. Like, I'm not a religious person, but I've had people say, I'm praying for you, and that means something to me. And I say, thank you. What he says is, I know.
Right. Well,
they're praying for you. I'm aware. I'm Donald Trump. Of course they're praying for me.
Well, and your point is well. And look, we're both people of faith in our own personal way. But it was still, if you watch the clip and you look at the way she says, it's just so disingenuous, and it's so meant to tee it up so that he could just, knock this softball out of the park to his base voters.
Yeah.
And it leads, I'm not sure if you've been reading this or not, Greg, but I've been reading it, and it a little bit brings you down that this rise, it just every day, there are more stories about this Christian fascist nationalism.
Yeah.
And now, and I haven't even gotten into this either here or my show yet, but I'd be interested in Dr. Lyerly's perspective on this. The Alabama Supreme Court this week ruled that for couples who are having fertility issues, who have an embryo that is frozen and they're trying to have kids, the Alabama Supreme Court this week ruled that frozen embryo is a person. And basically, this is the start now of trying to outlaw in vitro fertilization in this country. And it gets worse. The Supreme Court Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court was also found this week in the ruling to reference the Seven Mountains theory. And if you do a deep dive on it, and I encourage you not to, but
don't put that in your Google search history, people.
If you do a deep dive on the Seven Mountains theory, what it comes down to is this group that used to be kind of a fringe group, but is growing and taking on a large part of the Republican Party, believes that the Bible in its entirety should replace the Constitution as the law of the land. And you don't have to go very far to find this. Over the weekend, the Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, had a retreat, a leadership retreat in Florida. Not necessarily uncommon for congressional leaders to meet somewhere, and they basically plan out and say, what's the rest of the session going to look like? Well, now you have it leaking out that Republican congressmen who were there are saying, look, we went down there for a leadership conference, and Mike Johnson turned it into a Christian revival. This is, even the Republicans, some are fed up with this. And this is creeping into our country little by little. So my angst, my anger is really focused at Ingram for setting, who know they are complicit in this. They're part of it. And they set Trump up because to this right-wing evangelical Christian nationalist group that borders on a cult, this is what they want to hear. And what you have are good Lutherans and Methodists and Catholics who just go to church on Sundays and help out their community, have potluck dinners. They think, well, geez, look at this, he's a good Christian person. Come on now, as Earl Ingram might say. I mean, this is a guy who brags about grabbing women by the kitty, and 91 indictment charges. I don't know, Greg Bach. I'm sorry. I'm too much coffee this morning.
Let's just also convicted on assault too. So
yes, convicted of rape.
So I have a question for you as a former Republican watching this happen. It's a two-part question. It's no shock or no surprise or no anything. The Republican Party is a very Christian-based party. They make really no bones about it. But as you're saying, this new element is starting to worm its way into that party. Does the party split into almost like we saw when William Howard Taft took over, Teddy Roosevelt took his version of the Republican Party and made the Bull Moose Party, and then you saw the GOP become more business oriented. Will you see a shift where you'll have a more fiscally sound based GOP, and then you have your GOP or something else that's just becoming its own little theocracy within a new creation?
I think it's a great question, great point. The short answer is I don't know. I was one who honestly was naive enough to believe that if Trump were the nominee in 2016, that there was no way that these kind of business, fiscal centered, mainstream at the time, I would call them, Republicans would ever put up with it. I did not think that Mitch McConnell would genuflect to a guy like Donald Trump and give up his party and give up his beliefs. I was naive enough to think that wouldn't happen. And look what happened. Not only did it happen, they helped him be elected president of the United States. I don't know, Greg. If Trump crashes and burns in November, because the only way he's not going to be the Republican nominee is if something happens to him physically that he's not alive. That's it. He could literally be convicted and sitting in jail, and we could come to Milwaukee to cover the Republican National Convention in a few months, and they could nominate someone who is sitting in jail. That's a real possibility.
Yeah.
And so if that happens, if Trump crashes and burns in November, and he takes down the House majority in Congress, if Democrats maintain their control in the U.S. Senate, and several down ballot, meaning like governors and state legislatures, also have a really, really bad year, sure, I think it's possible that some people could just say that's enough. We're already seeing it with people like Congressman Ken Buck, I think is his name, and others. Mike Gallagher from Wisconsin, who's leaving not leaving the party, but leaving Congress. People who are not liberal, but are conservative, but just aren't whack job, Trumpists. So it could happen, but I guess the shorter answer, Greg, is I don't know where the bottom is for these people. I don't know where the line is that too much is enough.
Well, and that's, you brought up Mitch McConnell. It's interesting when you think about, in 2014, you had people like Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell. Mm-hmm. And did I agree with them? No, but they were pretty star-studded members of their party, and some of them were on the rise. Marco Rubio had been talked about as a presidential nominee, and when Trump came on the scene, they went after him like they should have. They criticized him, they lambasted him, they tried to discredit him, and he took them out one by one. And then they all came following his little trail of rotten breadcrumbs, and now their legacies are just as Trump bootless licking idiots.
Yeah,
like they can't go. Like they're trapped in that role now. They're never gonna ascend. They're jokes. And then you throw MTG, Lower and Boebert, Matt Gaetz onto the pile. You've got all these people who hook their wagon onto his star and are permanently behind him and permanently stained because of it.
Yeah, I agree. And again, how much is too much, right? For a lot of these people. And I think it comes down to the mainstream, because there are, as much as I like to gripe about my former party, there are people in Wisconsin who are voting for their local sheriff, for the local register of deeds, and that person has been there for 15 years. They've done a great job, and they serve the community, and they run under the Republican banner because that's just what people elect in that particular county of Wisconsin.
Yeah,
but they're not Trumpist people. They're not part of Trumpism. And I think it's those individuals, right? It's those local sheriffs and register of deeds and county officials who are going to have to stand up and say, I'm running as an independent because this is just too far crazy. Too far, not even too far right, just too far crazy for me.
Yeah. Because you can't even run as a Republican now and be like, that's, I'm running for city clerk and I'm a Republican and blah, 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 it's not my thing. People will, like, if you're like running for a small municipal job as a Republican and you try to just distance yourself, I'm like, that's not that's national politics. Right. They'll come after you and call you a rhino for wanting to be, the dog catcher.
Oh, exactly. You have to completely submit. And to get back to your earlier point, what does it say about people like Ted Cruz when Donald Trump, just didn't go after him, he called his wife ugly and went after his wife.
Yeah.
His wife.
Yeah.
I mean, Jeb Bush, when Trump went after his wife on a national debate stage, and they were standing next to each other, and Jeb Bush submitted like a dog to Donald Trump. Ted Cruz submitted like a dog to Donald Trump.
Remember that little hand slap they had? It was like Jeb's. You know what Jeb was thinking? Yeah, we're buds.
Right. Yeah, right. I mean, his own parents, that's when George H.W. Bush was alive and Barbara Bush, they were in the audience and Trump went after them.
Yeah, that.
I mean, anybody goes after my parents, and I'm single, but I mean, if I had a spouse, and that's it. We're fisticuffs. It's all over.
Todd, Allbaugh does not take it.
These Republicans are submitting like a dog. Back with more with this today in history, as a matter of fact, a call, the miracle on ice. Greg and I will talk about it. This is Up North News. Well, not really. It's Civic Media Morning filling in.
We're out.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know what the time was.
Electrical service company in our area. From residential and commercial to all things solar. Do you know the number one reason people call Current Electric? It is trust. We answer the call. They trust our heroes in their home and businesses. With 8,500 five-star reviews and growing, I'm so very proud of our team of heroes. Go to callcurrent.com. That's callcurrent.com. Home of the superheroes.
Less calories and fat, and oh so delicious. It's what every light bread wants to be. Leave it to the bakers of Village Hearth to have the perfect recipes that pack goodness and flavor into every package while still keeping it trim. With Village Hearth light bread and buns, you can lighten up on the calories and fat without losing out on the great taste. There's simply more to savor and nothing to sacrifice. With our light wheat, light 12 grain, and light Italian bread and buns, there's a light, tasty favorite for everyone in the family. Village Hearth, baking our best for you.
This is the Shaw W.
Welcome back to Civic Media This Morning. In for Up North News, Pat Kreitlow will return next week at this time. Right now it is 51 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. That's 9 minutes before the hour of 7 if you're trying to get out to work and to school. 9 minutes now before the hour of 7 o'clock. Temperature at 27 degrees here in the North Woods in Hayward, Wisconsin, where we are at WBZH, the buzz of the North. Filled in for Pat this morning as we continue all the rest of this week covering the 50th annual Birkebeiner ski event. And Mr. Greg Bach is down in our studios, WAUK, The Shaw. Nice to have you along this morning, Greg. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Todd. It's fun.
Well, the fact is, I couldn't be here without Greg. That's just the cold, hard facts.
I make this thing run.
You absolutely make it run. So we're happy to have you, Greg, along. And happy to have you along as well, Mr. But Todd's producing the show in live time, by the way. I sent you a cut, Greg, if it comes up, because I want to use this call by Al Michaels in the Today in History from The Miracle on Ice is kind of the first cut there at the top. So if we're able to do that, give me a thumbs up, but if not, that's fine too. But it is the 22nd of February, 2024. As we said, we get ready for the Birkebeiner today. But as we look back at this today in history, a couple of things that I'd forgotten about in recent history from 2014. Today on this date in 2014, El Chapo, the world's most wanted drug kingpin, was captured in Mexico. Remember how big this was at the time? El Chapo.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. And I remember also being seeing him for the first time being that's my grandpa.
Now, wouldn't have been we're in the middle. We've been talking to Brittany Merlot about the El Nino weather pattern. Wouldn't it be great if we just, it turned out that everything behind El Nino was El Chapo.
El Chapo's the reason for the mild winter. El Chapo is climate change.
I know, right? I mean, that would have been a big deal. But on this day in history, El Chapo was captured. Way back in 1819 on this date, the U.S. acquires Spanish Florida. Remember, that was, Florida was part of Spain. And isn't it ironic that you talk about Marco Rubio and also Ron DeSantis down there? They talk, they're so anti-immigrant. And of course, Marco Rubio has people that immigrated here himself for his own family. The entire state of Florida was completely just, it was part of Spain at one time.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. That sounds like woe history, Todd.
Right?
I'm not aware of Florida pre-1984. I don't know it until I've gone there. Disney World, great place.
Little did we know that the conquistadors were setting up Disney World at the time. Back in 1732, our very first president, George Washington, was born. That's right. It is Washington's birthday today, on the 22nd of February, and we mashed them together. George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, whose birthday is on the 12th. And, of course, we had President's Day on Monday. But today is the proper Washington birthday.
Happy birthday, George.
But, you think about it, and our precedent for only having 2 terms for a president was based on the fact that Washington did it himself. And, if you look back in history, he could have basically become a monarch. He could have stayed there as long as he wanted. He was absolutely revered. But he said, no, we're not a monarchy, and 2 terms is enough. And he set the precedent for it.
He's the first American leader just to be tired of our guff. He's like, I'm out of here.
His teeth hurt. So,
exactly.
And thanks to Greg Bach's fantastic production and engineering skills, we are going to bring you this great cut. I remember listening to this on television. It was replayed on radio as well. The great Al Michaels had this call. It was February 22nd, back in 1980. And of course, the current coach of the women's Badger hockey team, Mark Johnson, was on this team. It's the Miracle on Ice team from 1980, the Olympics in Lake Placid, when the United States took on the Soviet Union. And no one expected the United States to knock off the Soviet Union. They were absolutely a dynamo, a powerhouse in hockey at the time. But here was the call by Al Michaels on, I believe, ABC at the time, the Winter Olympics of 1980.
And on this day in 1980, the U.S. Olympic hockey team performed the Miracle on Ice. They faced the favorite Soviets at Lake Placid. The heated match became a Cold War showdown. In the end, the underdog Americans bested the Russians 4-3, and America celebrated.
And that's this.
Well, I thought my bad, because I thought it was the Al Michaels call. That was actually pretty funny.
Welcome to live radio.
Welcome for Todd trying to do two shows at once. That's what it's called. Well, the call was, of course, Al Michaels said, "Do you believe in miracles?" And the time expired, and he said, "Yes." That was the call. So there's my reenactment. I could also do the birth of George Washington too, which was simply "Ah!" That was the entire.
That was great. That was great, Todd.
There were no Dr. Lyerleys at the time. It was just midwives.
I think what you need to do is find yourself a theater company up there in Hayward and really George Michael, a one-man, George Washington, George Michael too. George Washington has a conversation with George Michael, a one-man show starring Todd Allbaugh.
Well, you got to have faith, the faith, the faith.
Love
You
that
got
song.
to have faith, the faith, the faith.
Love that man.
By the way, this is the only thing on Civic Media right now.
Yeah, right. You're really getting money. You're getting your money's worth there, people.
Todd can't give you actual clips. We're just reenacting historical events through Hayward local theater. In fact,
That would be the worst thing ever.
In fact, the Hayward local theater could do a better job than Todd doing reenactments of history.
Oh my God.
Wouldn't that be great, though? Think about that. Maybe we should pitch this to Kreitlow. Have local theater companies come in at 6:50 in the morning and reenact today in history.
It's just some guy going, "I have a dream." Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. But, oh, man. Too much fun on a Thursday morning, I tell you.
I know, right? Speaking of Thursday morning, it is the 22nd of February. Looking around the state, road conditions, unlike yesterday, pretty darn good, except just south of us here on Highway 53 around Chetek this morning. A few slickery spots, and then over on the Door County Peninsula, kind of around Sturgeon Bay, just south of Sturgeon Bay. If you're going to go over that big bridge there, be careful, because north of Sturgeon Bay, most of the roads in Door County, thanks to Lake Michigan and some right at freezing temperatures, are slick as well. But other than Door County and the little patch of 53 around Chetek this morning, the rest of our driving road conditions in Wisconsin are in good winter driving condition. Although, Greg Bach, it doesn't feel like winter. It should be called spring driving conditions, right?
I agree. Todd, I got something for you.
Give it to me.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
Greg Bach, just that good. You understand? This is why I love working for this company, because our producers, they make goofballs like me look halfway decent. So thank you, Greg. Look at that.
We also just got cut off. I totally missed the time, too.
But
I was
did the
so
cut
hard for that clip?
Did the cut get in? Did the cut get in?
Yeah, just in the moment, yeah.
That's fantastic. That was a great way to end that ridiculous segment. Thanks to Todd.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. We're at commercial.
All right.
I'm gonna go. I'll be right back.
Thanks, me too.
And once you say yes, Thinkability Wisconsin will be there, providing transition and workforce support for people with disabilities and their employers to help shape a better future for all. It all starts when you say yes. Join the movement at thinkabilitywi.org.
You're listening to The Shaw, WAUK 540 AM Jackson, W266DR Waukesha, and always streaming on the Civic Media app.
This is the CBS News World News Roundup, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. Parents' hopes are being dashed in Alabama, at least for now, as the largest hospital there suspends in vitro fertility treatments after the state Supreme Court ruled frozen embryos have the same rights as children. Correspondent Jared Hill.
UAB is the largest healthcare provider in the state of Alabama. And so for all of the families, all of the people who are looking for IVF treatment in the state of Alabama, they are currently in this state of limbo because they just don't know what happens next. They don't know how long this pause is going to be lasting for.
Spencer Goydel's wife, Gabby, began treatments after she suffered 3 miscarriages. He's worried their clinic will be next.
Just started freaking out about, are we going to be able to continue? And have we wasted all this time and money already?
CBS News has learned President Biden may try to make an end run around Congress and invoke a 1952 law to crack down on record crossings at the southern border. It allows the president to block foreigners from coming in if it is detrimental to U.S. interests. The ACLU's Lee Gallant.
Ultimately, we'll have to see what the Biden administration proposes, but we do not think it would be lawful for the administration to try what the Trump administration tried, which is to outright ban asylum for people depending on how they entered the country.
An Arizona official is refusing to send a murder suspect back to New York City. He's accused of beating a woman to death with an iron in a hotel room. Maricopa County's Republican attorney Rachel Mitchell.
Having observed the treatment of violent criminals in the New York area by the Manhattan DA there, Alvin Bragg, I think it's safer to keep him here.
A spokeswoman for Bragg, who's a Democrat, accuses Mitchell of political games. Israeli bombs flattened a mosque and destroyed homes overnight in southern Gaza's largest city. Correspondent Cammie McCormick reports.
Palestinian women wept over bodies of their loved ones. More than 1 million Palestinians have been seeking refuge in Rafah. These latest strikes come as a U.S. envoy heads to Israel in an effort to secure a truce deal.
Here in the U.S., a Boeing executive who oversaw the assembly factory linked to that door panel that blew off an Alaska Airlines flight is exiting the company. CBS's Chris Van Cleve.
This is kind of a mid-level executive who's being replaced in the wake of this 737 MAX 9 incident.
Use a smartwatch or ring to monitor your blood sugar. FDA's warning readings can be inaccurate. For diabetics, that can lead to taking too much or too little medication. S&P futures up 68. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
For Civic Media News, I'm Nate Wuggyhout. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Wisconsin businesses suffering losses during the warm, dry winter can apply for federal disaster loans. The U.S. Small Business Administration says its disaster coverage will extend to businesses hurt by the lack of winter weather this season. Businesses that cater to outdoor recreation are especially hard hit. Eric Hovde is officially in the race for U.S. Senate in Wisconsin. He made his campaign announcement Tuesday on social media.
Our country is facing enormous challenges. Our economy, our healthcare, crime, and open borders. Everything is going in the wrong direction. All Washington does is divide us and talk about who's to blame.
Of the Republicans in the race, Hovde presents the most formidable challenge to incumbent Democrat Tammy Baldwin. I'm Nate Wuggyhout, Civic Media News.
Marquette bounces back. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. After getting blown out by number 1 ranked UConn, the Marquette Golden Eagles beat the DePaul Blue Demons by 34 points. The final 105-71. DePaul now 0-15 in conference play. NFL, Matt LaFleur introducing Jeff Hafley today as the Packers' new defensive coordinator, replacing Joe Barry, who's now a linebackers coach with the Miami Dolphins. The Chicago Bears hiring 39-year-old Jennifer King as an assistant running backs coach. She's the first female coach ever hired by the Bears. King was on the Washington Commanders coaching staff last year. And the Brewers have re-signed pitcher Brandon Woodruff to the team. And they've also officially added catcher Gary Sanchez from the Padres. New manager Pat Murphy addressing the clubhouse in Maryvale.
I don't care about what others are saying, how much we're going to win. We're going to win this many games because of this, because of this. That's all bullcrap. Doesn't freaking matter. What matters is what? We win tonight.
That's the Brewers manager Pat Murphy. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Mostly sunny today. We'll get to 50 for a high this afternoon with wind out of the northwest at 5 to 10. Tonight, mostly clear. We'll drop down to 30. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, cooler with a few flurries possible. Our high 37. And then on Saturday, it'll be mostly sunny with a high near 38. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Right now, it's 31.
Hey, everybody, it's Todd Allbaugh. On Thursday, we continue to be live from Hayward, Wisconsin for the American Birkenbiter. Join us, noon to 3.
Your home of the Earl Ingram Show. Weekday mornings from 8 till 10.
All the leaves are brown. All the skies are gray. We're drinking margaritas and Toddy is getting.
All across Wisconsin from Civic Media, this is Up North News Radio. Now, live from our Lake Wissota studio, here's the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Brightlow.
Good morning, everybody. It is now 6 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock on a Thursday, February 22nd. We are live here in Hayward, Wisconsin. Pat Kreitlow is taking a well-deserved week off. He and Up North News Radio will be back next week at this time. We are here, as I said, in Hayward to cover the 50th annual American Birkebeiner as the sun comes up. A beautiful day here in northern Wisconsin. Glad to be along with you. Helping me through the next hour or so, the always fantastic Greg Bach from our studios at WAUK at the Shaw in Waukesha this morning. Getting it done. Greg Bach, how the heck are you?
Oh, just, gee, gosh darn fancy there, Todd. Had ourselves a little screw up there in the end of the first hour.
No, it was fantastic. It was a great way because Todd did not get his ducks in a row, or as my band teacher, Lauren Jensen in high school used to say, I did not have my poop in a group. And so I sent Greg the wrong cut, you understand? And it was not his fault, but he's fantastic. And he dialed up Al Michaels and we got it in, but we got so excited that we were playing Al Michaels because it was on this date, the great call of Do You Believe in Miracles? Yes. When the United States defeated the Soviet Union.
There it is. Skating in on the left side. Into the American end. 55 seconds.
That's the full clip. Never mind.
That's the longer version. That's the long play. That's the long play, you understand? But you get the flavor. And we got so excited about this that we're talking about it, and Greg goes, "Oh, by the way, we're out." We missed the cutoff, but that was a great way to end the segment because it was completely disorganized largely because of me, all because of me, quite frankly. But I appreciate you.
It's great that when you're up for review, you're like, let's go to your failure tape.
Well, don't worry. It's usually about a year and 4 months before you get to your annual review around here anyway.
Ooh,
so
Todd.
Don't worry about
Brittany,
it.
How you doing? Tell us about the weather, please.
Oh, I'm learning so much.
Well, joining us, our friendly colleague from the weather department. It is none other than meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Brittany, you did such a great job talking about El Nino yesterday. I'm not sure if they teach you this in meteorology school or in college, but did you realize that the El Nino derived from El Chapo?
No.
Todd.
Yeah.
He's kidding.
Oh, I know.
It was well on this day.
Not for you, Brittany. I'm talking about like just in today's day and age, people hear things like, I heard Todd Allbaugh say that El Chapo is responsible for climate change.
See, I would love it if some kid driving to school with their parent today, and they had to say something in class, and they said, I heard on the radio that El Nino was started by El Chapo. No, El Chapo was a Mexican drug lord, and on this day in 2014, he was finally arrested.
Oh.
And so that's where that came from.
Okay,
But-
I was wondering. Okay.
But there's all kinds of great days today. Yesterday we had Sticky Bun Day, National Sticky Bun Day. Today, we're not even going to get through them all here, but a plethora. Here's a great one. Today, on the 22nd of February, National Supermarket Employee Day. And listen to me. If you have not said thanks to your folks at the supermarket, do it, because they're working their butts off to get food out there and product when things are coming in late. Products are delayed. And how about the friendly people who put up with all the crap in the lines of people, can I pay with this with 20 pennies here? Let me see. There's that kind of thing going on. And then
Can
you
I
got
write a check for $4?
Right. And then you got the baggers, right? And have either of you ever worked at a supermarket?
No.
Nope.
I have not either, but I know friends that have. And it's what Letterman used to do a whole bit because he did for a while, and he'd bring on they have a contest, the National Bagger Championship, and let me tell you, it is an art and a skill to know how to pack things in there so things aren't breaking.
Point of order, though, not anymore. Nowadays, I go, if they bag it, they're like, they put a box of pasta in one bag. They're like, there you go. Here's your milk. And they give me like 84 bags for 5 items. I don't understand.
It depends on where you go. You understand? I mean, if you go to your locally owned supermarket, usually they're much better baggers there.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize you were rich. Okay, cool.
You don't have to be rich to go to a locally owned supermarket.
Got that Sendix money, folks. Got that Sendix money.
I'm sleeping on a Galdang's futon in a radio station for 4 nights. I ain't rich.
Spent all your money on local grocery stores, Todd.
Well,
all right, sorry.
Anyway, all right, Brittany Merlot, help us out here. Give us some good news on the weather. Although it's not going to be good news for people in Hayward trying to make snow. But what the heck is going on with weather across the state of Wisconsin?
Yeah, exactly. Well, first I want to start off with saying 2/22 is I love 2. So today is like my national favorite number day, if that makes any sense.
Oh,
I am just loving it. Yeah.
All right.
You guys have favorite numbers, or am I just the weird one?
No, actually 7, I like 7, but oddly enough, 13 has actually been a lucky number in my life.
Ooh, I like that.
Someone's a Swiftie.
Guilty as charged.
Me too, absolutely. I like 7. I like odd numbers because there's one in the middle.
Yes.
There's something very satisfying about seeing a number and then breaking it into even piles. It's just nice. It's nice. That speaks more to my like mental state than anything else. But Brittany, how about the weather? Tell us about the weather.
All right, so we are sitting below freezing for a lot of us right now, into those mid to upper 20s to low 30s. And of course, as we go through our day today, we're going to warm things up nicely, climbing back into the upper 40s for the Northwoods to low 50s for the southern parts of the state. Beautiful sunshine, all of the above, just yesterday on repeat, still like spring. But tonight, we're going to see winds start to get breezy, and they're going to pull out of the northwest. So that's going to bring some cooler temperatures our way for tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be a little blustery and much cooler out there. Highs will be into the upper 20s into the Northwoods, and even some low 20s are possible, especially by Lake Superior. And then we'll see some low 30s to mid 30s possible in the southern parts of the state. But we warm right back up through the weekend. Near record highs again next week, a little storm, and then back to spring. So it's really temporary winter bursts headed our way.
It's well, again, the folks up here in Hayward, Wisconsin could use a little burst of winter to make some snow. So they're going to appreciate those lower temperatures the next couple of nights. But again, you talked about it yesterday, Brittany, but again, this El Nino pattern in all seriousness is bringing us drier than normal conditions and warmer than normal conditions, largely because of this the jet flow and the jet stream. And you talked about it yesterday. Ultimately, it's because of this global warming issue that the entire world is facing.
Yes, you combine those two things together, and we're just accelerating up there and shattering records, and it's the warmest winter that Wisconsin has ever had. So,
absolutely
unfortunately,
crazy. Well,
we got ourselves our friend Rob Lehman giving us the weather forecast in Tigerton. Good morning.
What's going on in Tigerton?
It is clear and 25 degrees. The Tigerton area has a power outage, though, and he goes on to say Cellcom still has cell service, and happy 2/22, Brittany. Mine is 29 because of my favorite highway.
Oh, look at that.
Yes,
Highway 29. The dividing line for most for up north versus down south. So
Yeah, did you guys see? I think he's talking about that cellular outage. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
I did not know.
Did not hear about that at all.
Yeah, so I guess it's AT&T customers and some Verizon and Cellcom, I believe.
Figures.
But basically, yeah, I think there's like 43,000 people
Oh my
that don't have
God.
cell phone service here this morning, and it's nationwide too.
Wow. That's
Oh
crazy.
no, screen time for kids is gone.
Well, that
Sorry,
brings up-
parents.
That actually brings up a really interesting point, right? We talked about this in our show, I think on Monday and in the afternoon, and they did a great article on how long could you go without. When's the last time that you went an entire day without looking or using your cell phone? Either of you, Brittany?
I did this not too long ago. I want to say maybe a month or 2 months ago. It was hard. I'll say that. It
Really?
was
Yeah.
weird.
Greg,
And
when was the last time for you?
I don't know. No, that's not a thing.
We had somebody call or text in and said probably the day before I got my first cell phone. I mean, really. I mean, I've gone several hours, like going on kayaking trips and left my phone in my truck for like 7 hours, 6-7 hours. But when's the last time I went for 24 hours without ever touching my phone? I honestly can't remember.
I
Go
can
to the
tell
boundary.
you. Go on, Brittany.
I was going to say, go to the Boundary Waters up in Minnesota. You have
Right.
no cell phone service. Did it for a week.
Does that doesn't include tablets or like computers? It's just cell phone?
I think it was just, yeah, I guess it just cell phone.
2 weeks, July of 2022.
Really?
I left my phone in a lift. And okay, that's not funny.
An elevator or a car?
Okay. Wow. Local grocery money, and he's been to England. Mr. Fancy Pants Allbaugh.
No, I have not been to England.
No,
I just like the word.
I went to a White Sox game. I took a lift, and I left my phone in the lift, and Lyft did everything they could to not help me one bit.
Really?
Because all their drivers are independent contractors, so they have no responsibility to get your items. So they tried calling him. He didn't call them back, so he just kept my phone. And I went 2 weeks without a cell phone. So I had to do all my work, which is fine. I could do all my work off my computer. But it just became a misery because I thought, like, for the first week, I thought, oh, I'm going to get it back. I'll get it back. I'll get it back. And then halfway through that second week, I'm like, looks like I'm spending a whole bunch of more money on a phone.
You're not getting it back.
And they were like, well, you can file a police report. I'm like, okay.
Good luck with that.
A police report. I'm going to drive all the way to Chicago to talk to some cop who's going to be like, why am I doing this?
Right.
So, Brittany Berlow, tell us why is 2 your favorite number?
I don't know exactly. I just like 22 is probably my favorite.
Oh, 22.
So double twos, right?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's my softball number. It was always a sports number.
So how do you feel about 44?
It's not as cool.
I thought it'd be doubly cool, but it's fine.
No, it's got to be the twos. Maybe because my birthday's on the 2nd. Maybe it has something to do with that.
The 2nd of what?
December.
Oh, we got
December babies.
We should have celebrated it. What? Your December too, Greg?
Yeah, my birthday is on 1/2.
Oh.
Get out.
Take that 2 times by the 1, you get 2.
Yep.
All right, we've got him completely.
Absolutely. I'm blowing your mind. I'm blowing your
All right. It reminds me of a dispensary I stopped out on the way to northern Wisconsin. But anyway, it's been a good morning here. It's been a good. Brittany Merlot, always glad to have you along.
Thank you.
So much. We'll be listening throughout the day, and she will keep us informed of the warm up, but then a slight cool down. So thanks, Brittany. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Brittany, our pleasure. She'll be looking at our tarot cards. 22. There's not a tarot card for 22, I don't think. But anyway, we'll come back and talk about what's happening in the Wisconsin Republican Party. Mark moving on up. Jefferson is moving out. We'll detail it after this on Civic Media This Morning on Civic Media Radio Network.
Pete Schwab.
Most of us can agree we should have the freedom to make our own medical decisions. Politicians should have no role at all, but not California mega millionaire Eric Hovde. Hovde said, I am totally opposed to abortion and I'm 100% pro-life. And he supported overturning Roe v. Wade, the court case that protected abortion rights. Hovde's been supported by Wisconsin Right to Life, an extreme anti-abortion group that supports banning abortion, even in cases of rape and incest, and threatens doctors and nurses with criminal charges for providing abortion care. With views like that, Hovde could be a crucial vote in favor of a national abortion ban, letting politicians decide what's right for women. Call Eric Hovde at his California office at 714-730-4444. Tell him his position on abortion is dangerous for Wisconsin women. Paid for by A Better Wisconsin Together, Inc.
Well, we're moving on up, to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving on up.
Welcome back to Civic Media This Morning, in for Pat Kreitlow and Up North News, and it's now 20 past the hour of 7 o'clock, along with Greg Bach in Waukesha. I'm Todd Allbaugh here in our beautiful studios in Hayward, Wisconsin, WBZH. The Buzz of the North. We are here all week long covering the American Birkebeiner, the 50th anniversary thereof. And on Saturday, our very own Jim Santel and Morning Cannolis will also cover the event with our help of Greg I guess it's Big G and Gray here in the North Woods at Park Falls and Hayward as well. So all kinds of Birkebeiner coverage for the rest of the week. Mr. Bach, nicely done on the music there this morning.
Thank you very much. I want to stand next to this Big G that I've never met because I'm also a Big G. So I want to see, and it's not like a unga bunga, like biting the chest. I'm a bigger man. I just want to see the size difference between Big G and I guess I'm little G then. I guess I'm G Junior.
I don't know.
G the second. Brittany would love that. I'm G2. Oh!
G2, right? Yeah, exactly. I don't. Remember, Greg, size doesn't matter. It's just whether it's with the person inside that counts. That's what
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear you in my 6'4" frame.
Are you really 6'4"?
No, I'm 6'2", but when I wear boots, I'm 6'4".
Oh, okay.
I'm short, tall.
Short, tall. It's the person that counts, right?
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 21 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. Looking for, as Brittany said, highs going way into in the 50s in some parts of the lower part of the state here in northern Wisconsin, into the 40s today. Not great news if you're trying to make snow, but they'll get it done as the spirit of the Birkebeiner continues here at Hayward. They're making snow at night, and of course, next couple of days, after we get through today, temperatures are going to cool down a bit and then warm back up next week. So be aware of that. Weather driving conditions, you would expect everywhere having good driving conditions, but there are a couple of spots on Highway 53 around Chetek this morning here in northern Wisconsin, a little slickery due to some freezing fog, and also over in Door County, just south of Sturgeon Bay, across the Sturgeon Bay Bridge and up into the thumb of Door County up there, the upper thumb. All those roads are slick in spots this morning, so be aware if you're driving. And listening to us perhaps on WGBW. Well, actually you wouldn't, because you're listening to Mino and the Mayor if you're on WGBW. But if you're tuning this in via the Civic Media app, that's what I wanted to say, because you can download it on your Apple or Android device and take all of our great shows with you wherever you go across the state of Wisconsin. Coming up in just a little over a half an hour on many of our stations, you will hear the one and only Earl Ingram with the Earl Ingram Show from 8 until 10 this morning. And on Bull Falls Radio, there in Wausau, Wisconsin, the wonderful Chad Holmes and the Chad Holmes Show on WXCO, Bull Falls Radio in Wausau this morning at 8 o'clock as well. Mr. Bach played a little Jefferson's there. One of the great theme songs, I think, of all time, musically, moving on up there by on Jefferson's TV program. It leads into this story that was breaking yesterday. We covered it on the afternoon show, but I wanted to touch on it this morning. On the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, reporter Lawrence Andrea had this great article, or Andrea. Republican Party Wisconsin Executive Director Mark Moving On Up Jefferson will step down next month, shaking up the state's party's leadership just months before the next presidential election and the party's national convention in Milwaukee. Jefferson, who is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the Wisconsin GOP, plans to leave the post in early March. He told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel yesterday he will stay in Wisconsin, but, quote, it remains to be seen, unquote, whether he will continue to work in politics. He said, quote, I've enjoyed my time in the arena, so to speak, but it's time. There's a lot of talented people who are able to fill leadership roles in this party, and I've enjoyed my time here, but it's time to move on and allow some of the new talent to take on new leadership roles, unquote. According to the Journal-Sentinel, Jefferson's departure, however, comes during a big moment for Wisconsin Republicans. The National Republican Convention is set to take place in Milwaukee from July 15 to the 18th, and Republicans on Tuesday officially launched their Senate campaign to take on Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin in November, a race that will help determine the power of the Senate. Now, this is a very interesting story to me as someone who spent, a number of years, 25 plus years, working in Republican politics, was a Republican for almost 30 years until I left the party in 2011 over voter suppression issues. I know this guy pretty well, Mark Jefferson. He worked for the late, great Cheryl Albers in the Assembly, while I worked for Dale Schultz in the state Senate. And Cheryl Albers was one of the Assembly people in Dale's Senate district. There are 3 Assembly people for every state Senate seat. And Mark Jefferson came up through the Republican Party about the same time I did. He's a couple of 3 years younger, but he worked for Cheryl Alberts, and so I got to know him pretty well. Worked on a lot of campaigns with him. And then fast forward to 2004, I actually ran for state assembly myself in southwest Wisconsin and lost in a Republican primary because I was too moderate. But the point is, I asked the majority leader at the time, who I also knew very well, Mike Hipsch, if the Republican Party was going to play, so to speak, in this primary, if they were going to choose somebody. They said, no. We're whoever's going to win it's going to win it. Well, Mark Jefferson was one of the people in the leadership position of the state party, not executive director at the time, but was a leadership position. And so I said, hey, he actually talked to me and he said, look, we're friends. I can't officially do anything through the party, but, if you need some help and bounce something off of, let me know. And so I thought, I knew this guy. He was my friend. So I would call him up maybe once a week, every other week at least. And he'd say, well, how is the campaign going? And we'd kind of chit chat about what's going on. Well, my opponents that I was running against had 3 or 4 people in that primary, none of who had ever worked in politics before or really had a lot of state political experience or party experience. And I would get to these small towns. One of the communities was a Wilton in Monroe County, and a lovely town. Their big festival every year is called the Black Squirrel Festival. I'm not making that up. There's an inordinate amount of black squirrels in the Wilton area, and so they have the Black Squirrel Festival every year. And so I'd go and knock on doors in Wilton, and I'd see my opponent's literature, one of them, already there. I thought, well, this is odd. It keeps happening over and over. How are these people, this one person in particular who never really had any experience beyond county board, how are they doing this out, or how are they besting me? Well, it turns out after I got done, or after I lost the primary, I had this confirmed. What happened was Mark Jefferson was taking all the information that I was telling him as my friend and passing it on to Assembly Majority Leader Mike Hipsch, who was meeting with my opponent at his farm every Sunday to make sure that I was defeated. So that's the kind of dude that Mark Jefferson is, you understand. He'd slit his own mother's throat to win an election, so to speak. And so it's no surprise that Mark Jefferson is stepping down, particularly that he was on the record as saying in his deposition about the fake electors, quote, freaking Trump idiots want someone to fly original elector papers to the Senate president. They're going to call one of us to tell us just what the hell is going on, unquote. Look, the Trump people don't like Jefferson. He's probably feeling the heat, and he's probably going to get indicted, or at least there's a chance of that, on charges coming on the fake electors. And so the guy is trying to get out while the getting is good. But we shall see. More on that later. If you want to call in, love to hear from you. 844-967-2789. 844-967-2789. Back with Civic Media this morning with Greg Bach and myself from Hayward, Wisconsin. Stay tuned on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Well, we're moving on up, to the east side, to deluxe apartments.
Diploma. I wanted to say I'm so proud of you for finishing school. You taught me it's never too late to achieve your dreams. I hope to make you as
Where would you
proud
like to go
as
next?
me.
I'm going to talk a little bit more about Republican Party, Wisconsin Republican Party politics.
All right, cool.
HearDiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Well, today is the beginning of North America's largest organic farming conference. And guess what? It's happening right here in Wisconsin. I'm Pam Yonke with a quick update on what's happening in food and farming news for a Thursday. They're expecting more than 1,800 attendees for the 35th annual Organic Farming Conference hosted by Marble Seed, happening in La Crosse. Laura Stern is executive director of Marble Seed and said one of the areas they're focused in on this year, trying to reveal monies available to farms that want to transition into organics.
For folks that are considering organic, this is an amazing time right now in the history of organic to make that transition. There's a lot of support from our organization, from other organizations across the country, and enabling farmers to kind of fund that transition because we know it's hard. There's funding for mentorship, technical assistance, and all that we're a part of. And then there's also funding for the farmers that are making the transition to support them in doing that.
Laura Stern, Executive Director of Marble Seed, the hosting group for the 35th Annual Organic Farming Conference happening today through Saturday in La Crosse. Stern also says that this year's theme focuses in on reducing waste on the farm, waste of time, waste of money, waste of food, waste of byproducts.
Leadership Institute is a year-long premier crash course in personal development, agricultural advocacy, and Wisconsin Farm Bureau that builds up strong Farm Bureau members. I'm proud to be a Wisconsin Farm Bureau member because they invested time and resources in me and my development, and I cannot wait to give a return on that investment.
WFBF.com. A voice for farmers, vision for agriculture, Wisconsin Farm Bureau. Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
You may know Rural Mutual Insurance as the #1 farm insurer, but did you know they also offer competitive home, auto, business, and life insurance? They make it convenient to bundle your insurance while saving you time and money. Visit ruralmutual.com to learn more.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
And National FFA Week continues across the countryside. Today is Give FFA Day. The Wisconsin FFA Foundation is targeting a $50,000 goal with matching donors, state officer challenges, and a new Rooted in Giving program that they're launching this year. It's all about supporting students through travel stipends as well as support during their supervised agriculture experiences. You can find out more going to wisconsinffa.org. I'm Pam Yankee.
You're listening to The Shaw, WAUK, Waukesha's home for the Todd Allbaugh Show.
Mostly sunny today. We'll get to 50 for a high this afternoon with wind out of the northwest at 5 to 10. Tonight, mostly clear. We'll drop down to 30. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, cooler with a few flurries possible. Our high 37. And then on Saturday, it'll be mostly sunny with a high near 38. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Right now, it's 31.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
A heads up before something bad happens.
You should not send that text.
Uh-oh. Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can reverse prediabetes and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Waukesha, home of Les Paul.
Watch out. You might get what you have to. Cool babies. Strays but not a stranger. I'm an ordinary guy. Burning down the house.
Welcome back to Civic Media This Morning. In for Pat Kreitlow and Up North News, I'm Todd Allbaugh live at our Hayward studios, the buzz of the North, WBZH, joined by the incomparable Greg Bach at the Shaw, WAUK, down in Waukesha. Glad to have you along, Mr. Bach. The sun is coming up. It's a beautiful day in the Northwoods.
Yeah, it's I like when you do the show and when Pat does the show. They have windows, and I just get to see the sun coming up. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful here. The sun is coming right in our window here at WBZH, and looking for highs. Now they're saying perhaps as high as 48 degrees here in the Northwoods, well into the 50s down where you're at in Milwaukee and Racine, Kenosha, that part of the state, Madison as well. So it's going to be a warm one. Right now we're at 29 degrees here in Hayward. For those wondering, the show will go on, so to speak, the 50th annual Birkebeiner, American Birkebeiner here in Hayward. Actually, it's going to be happening just north of here at the starting line in Cable, the trailhead, as they say. Instead of going from Cable down here to Hayward as it normally would, they're actually doing about a 10-kilometer loop up in Cable. So still a lot of people here. Hayward's still a busy hub, but it's just the starting line would normally be about a half a block behind me here out the window where we're from, the finish line, I should say. But because of the conditions, that's not going to happen. But have no fear, they're making snow at night and going to have the 50th annual American Birkebeiner happening here in the Hayward Cable area. Come on up. It's going to be a great organization. The local Lions Club, the Hayward Lions Club, setting up a food stand as we speak. That will open at 10 o'clock if you're in the area listening to us on the Buzz of the North, WBZH here in Hayward. Stop out to the Trailhead and Cable and help support the local Lions Club this morning as they're raising funds for all the great work they do here in the Hayward community. And for that matter, all across the state of Wisconsin. We have so many great service organizations like that, be it the Lions Club or the Rotary, Kiwanis, it goes right down the list. All these great organizations that make our communities what they are. They don't get paid for it. They do it out of the goodness of their heart to make our communities better. So let's support them when and where we could or where we can. I was part of the Lions for a long time. A great organization. They do a lot with vision and helping to take eye doctors and examinations and glasses, particularly to people in Central America and other third world countries. So it does a lot of good, as well as in our local communities as well. You might not know that many of the Lions clubs will basically adopt a service animal, a dog, and they put that match that with a trainer. And then after it's trained, they will give that dog to a person with vision problems to help them have a seeing eye dog, so to speak, and help them get around. So just one of the many things the Lions Club does here across the state of Wisconsin. Want to finish up, we were talking a little bit last segment, this story in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel from Lawrence Andrea on Wisconsin Republican Party Executive Mark Jefferson stepping down. Just want to finish up on that, then we'll get you ready for the rest of the day with some other headlines of the day. As I said before, I know this guy, Mark Jefferson, worked in Republican politics with him for a long time before I left the party in 2011. He's not a guy you can trust based on my personal experience. And I think that one of the reasons that he is announcing he's stepping down so suddenly, which I can tell you, this is not normal. That if there's going to be a change at the executive director of the state Republican Party, it would not happen in an election year, and particularly not in an election year where you're hosting a national convention in your state. So I think that because of this quote I read before we ended the last segment there, he's calling the freaking Trump idiots. Wants someone to fly original electorate papers to the Senate president, and it goes on from there. The Trump, obviously, in particular, but also his campaign manager, Chris LaCivita, they don't want an executive director in a key, perhaps the key state in a presidential election, calling the nominee a freaking idiot, or at least the people around him. It doesn't sit real well. Later on in this interview with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, Mark Jefferson said this when asked about Donald Trump. He said, quote, "I certainly would not go all of the places perhaps that Trump has gone, but I get the need to shake things up." He added, would I have done all the things he did? No, but these are the times we're in, unquote. He went on to say he will support the Republican nominee for president in 2024. I hear this narrative a lot from people in the Republican Party of Wisconsin. They'll privately kind of quietly say, look, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have said that. But, this is the times we're in. It's a different time. It's not like when we were in it, Todd. The difference is, I'm not a hero. I'm no hero, you understand? People, our EMS workers, our doctors, our nurses, the people who put on the uniform of the American military, those are people who are actually heroes. I'm no hero. I'm just a guy who said, you know what? I actually do have somewhat of a conscience, and I can't be part of a party or an organization who is actively trying to take away people's constitutional right to vote, amongst other things. And it's only gotten worse since 2011. So when I hear people like Mark Jefferson and Andrew Hitt and others saying, well, look, I was tricked, it's just the times we're in, it's just what we're... No. You have the ability, all of us do, to walk away from a bad situation. I'm sure most people listening this morning, at some point, if you're of a certain age, at some point in your life, whether it was a personal relationship or whether it was a work situation, and something just was beyond what you could put up with, either personally or because of your ethos, because of your character, your morals, and you're like, I'm not doing that. And you change your position, you change your situation. Mark Jefferson and Andrew Hitt are smart people. They're not intellectually stupid. I know them both. They know the difference of right and wrong. They chose to stay with the Republican Party. They chose to be part of a fake electors scam. Beyond a scam, it was an attempt to overthrow the government of the United States, an insurrection. When people like that who know the difference choose to stay in it, the fault lies with them. So I shed no tears. I have no compassion for Mr. Hitt or Mr. Jefferson. They knew what they were doing. And as the election nears in 2024 here, as we go through this year and into November, it's incumbent on each of us to maintain vigilance and find out the truth and know what's going on. And then you have yahoos in the 3rd Congressional District, like Derek Van Orton, Congressman, Republican down there. He posted something on Twitter last night, which is just, bizarre. Not bizarre, but he was in my hometown, Richland Center. And he's literally trolling the Democratic Party of Richland County. And he acts as he's in the front of their Democratic Party headquarters in Richland County. He clearly knows there's nobody there at the time. It was the middle of the afternoon, it looked like. And he said, hey, I'm Derek Van Orton. I'm going to, stop up here at Richland Center because, I represent everybody. And we're going to stop by and leave some of these Van Orton for Congress lapel pins, campaign pins, so they know that they have a choice, trying to be all smart and cutesy. And he tries the door. Oop, nobody here. And they have like a mail slot on the door to put mail in. And he goes, I'm just going to leave a few. And he puts his own campaign buttons in the mailbox door, the mail slot door of the Democratic Party of Richland County. He goes, well, now they know they have a choice. Everybody have a great day. And he's wearing a baseball cap and a flannel shirt. He tries to pass himself off as, Mr. Western Wisconsin, good old boy. But I thought, here's a guy who likes to yuck it up and brag about being a former Navy SEAL, but he's a coward. If he actually really wanted to say, hey, I want to represent all of you, he would have stopped by when he knew there was somebody there and said, you know what, look, I know I'm on the other side, but I just wanted to stop by and say hello. It's certainly nothing personal. And, if we can ever help anybody here in terms of a road or immigration issues or whatever, give us a call. Let's put politics aside. My former bosses used to do that kind of stuff just to be real people. But Derek Van Orton, as much as he likes to brag about his testosterone and about his honor and about what a great macho man he is, he's a coward. Derek Van Orton is a do-nothing, yellow-bellied, sapsucker coward. Because when he had a chance to do something on immigration, he voted no. He also voted to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas. At least something that his colleague from Wisconsin, Mike Gallagher of Green Bay, said, that's too whack job for me. I'm not going there. Mike Gallagher actually has a little bit of courage. He actually voted no on the impeachment of Alejandro Mayorkas. Derek Van Orton voted yes. Derek Van Orton likes to claim that he's all about, it's all fentanyl and illegal immigrants. This is what, you want to know the biggest story in fentanyl in Wisconsin happened about 2 weeks ago. It was 2 white dudes, one from Wanakee, I think the other one was from Middleton, and they flew a plane from Arizona to the Middleton, a little tiny Middleton airport outside of Madison, and got arrested with thousands of dollars worth of fentanyl, bringing it into Wisconsin. Not illegal immigrants, not brown people, 2 white dudes from Wisconsin. But Derek Van Orton doesn't like to talk about that. He is a political coward. And don't be duped by the flannel shirt and the baseball cap and the just a grandfather thing. It's ridiculous. 844-967-2789, 844-967-2789. Would love to hear from you this morning, along with Mr. Bach in beautiful Waukesha. Right now, the time is 7:45. Looking for highs today in the upper 40s and 50s, maybe even 60 across the state of Wisconsin. Am I wrong on this, Greg Bach? Tell me if I'm wrong. Am I wrong that I get my dander up when I see this goofiness in Wisconsin politics?
Well, first of all, I just want to let you know, Tony Zimmerman agrees. He said, "Well said, Todd." Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And someone also texted it takes courage to yell at interns.
Right? Yeah, right.
He is one of those guys who I don't disagree with you. And my hackles get upright, and when I see him tweeting, just trying to play, because he's a bully. He is he likes a reaction. He loves a reaction, and I give it to him on Twitter too. I don't like that I do, but I do, because he says things are just so not Wisconsin,
right?
Not kind. And frankly, let us not forget, and I know that people might not know this or they're tired of hearing about it, but he was at January 6th.
Yes, he was part of the insurrection.
He was there.
Yeah.
He was there. He wasn't there as a concerned citizen of anything other than wearing camouflage and hanging out with his buddies and thinking this is cool. And he got elected to the House of Representatives, a man who stood with others to try to overturn our elections and intimidate and threaten the lives of our elected officials, regardless of party. I don't care who is in that room. Their lives were not, they did not, Republican or Democrat, they did not deserve that.
No,
and
not at all.
He stood with the opposite. And Derek Van Orton is, as you said, a coward. He is a bully, and he does not represent Wisconsin. Certainly doesn't. And I said that you do not represent Wisconsin. You do not represent the 3rd, and you do not represent this country.
Well, that's where I grew up in the 3rd District and spent a lot of time there, ran elections in the 3rd District, and the people of the 3rd District are great folks. And are certainly not, Derek Van Orton is not representative, in my opinion, of someone who was born and raised there, of those values. And to your point, or the texter callers or the texter's point, yeah, I mean, here's a guy who yelled at a teenager in a library in Perdocene because there happened to be LGBTQ books on the shelf, and then he gets, by his own account, he has not disputed any of this, by the way, that he was drinking out at his office in the U.S. Capitol, and in a midnight tour, he goes through the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol and starts berating teenage high school pages who are simply taking photos of the rotunda. And I'll tell you, as someone who worked at that building, it's not uncommon to lay on your back and look up and take a photo. And he berates, verbally abuses them. Verbally, not just yells at them, but drops F-bombs and S-bombs and verbally abuses them. Derek Van Orton does not deny any of that. All right? He's a verbal
people give him credit.
Right. He's a verbal abuser of teenagers.
Yeah. He's just,
so I think we can do better. I think, whether it's Katrina Shanklin or Rebecca Cook, we can do better, Wisconsin. And we'll be following that race as well. I know Pat Kreitlow will on Up North News as well. We're going to come back and take a look at a couple of daily headlines for you, get you ready for the day. Last check of weather. And Greg Bach and I will talk about more of these fantastic national days. It's a potpourri. There's one in here for Eric Hovde. We'll tell you what it is on the other side.
National California Day. Yay!
You got it. It's Civic Media This Morning on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I joined the Carpenters Union 15 years ago as an apprentice, got free training, and have been able to advance. Now I'm a superintendent, running high-profile projects in Milwaukee that change the city skyline. I'm looking for skilled and experienced carpenters. If you want to join my team with great pay, better benefits, and a chance to advance, apply today. Call 262-970-5777 and press 0 to apply. That's 262-970-5777 and press 0.
Finding the special healthcare resources families need just got easier. Wisconsin Wayfinder, Children's Resource Network, helps kids with delays, disabilities, special healthcare needs, and mental health conditions. Call toll-free 877-947-2929. Ask questions, get answers. Connect today toll-free 877-947-2929. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Department of Health Services.
You're listening to The Shaw at WAUK, Waukesha's home.
Seems it never rains in Southern California.
back to Civic Media this morning. In for Pat Quitlow and Up North News, who returns next week from well-deserved vacation. It is 10 minutes now before the hour of 8 o'clock. Glad to have you along with Greg Bach in our studios at WAUK in Waukesha. Weather forecast for today, another sunny one across the state of Wisconsin. Highs in the mid to upper 40s in northern Wisconsin. Pertner, as my granddad would say it, near 60 degrees in southern Wisconsin today. Sun is going to be out. It's going to cool down a little bit, says Brittany Merlot, our meteorologist for the weekend. By cooling down, I mean maybe kind of sort of halfway normal temperatures in the upper 30s and 40s. But then another warm up into the 60s. It sounds like Greg Bach for next week. Not your typical February weather.
No, and I mean, do you remember a few years, I think it was 2018, where we had one full week in February where it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
We're just like, this is weird.
It was like 2013 and 14 because it was like 80 degrees sometime in March. I remember that. Yeah, it was super weird.
And now it's like, and I asked Brittany like a week ago, it's like, is it fair to say this is the mildest winter in Wisconsin history? She said, absolutely. This is nothing like has happened before.
Crazy. Couple of one sports score for you from last night. If you haven't heard, congratulations to the Marquette Golden Eagles. They got back on track with a nice win in the Fiserv Forum against DePaul. Not just a nice win, a blowout. Marquette 105 and DePaul 71. Shaka Smart has the team rolling, number 7 in the country. Congratulations to them last night. The Bucks are off still from the All-Star game. Get back on track here. And of course, Milwaukee Brewers start off spring training this weekend on Saturday. They take on the San Diego Padres. You can hear that game, I believe, at 2 p.m. across much of Civic Media. Don't forget, we cannot stream those Major League games, but you can listen if you are in places like Richland Center, Racine, Kenosha, Wisconsin Rapids, and Amory. On this 22nd of February, a couple of national days for you. Greg Bach played it earlier. It is National Eric Hovde Day. Check that. National California Day.
I'm sorry I guessed that. I'm sorry.
I'm glad you did. I mean, it was an easy one, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, today is National California Day. And of course, OC Eric Hovde, who lives in California, has said, you know what, it's pretty hard for a Republican to win a seat out here in California, but I have a multi-million-dollar house overlooking the ocean. I'm kind of bored. Wouldn't it be nice to belong to the most exclusive club in the world, the United States Senate? How about I just hop on my jet and fly back to Wisconsin and run for office there? And he officially announced yesterday, and he posted this photo, and people were just, Republican Party was just going on and on. What a great crowd it was. I zoomed in, and if you took out the press, I mean, I've done a lot of these political announcement types of things in my life. I know how these go. I counted heads and whatnot. He was lucky if there was 50 people, 50 at this announcement of actual people, and many of them looked like suited up college Republicans, which, I mean, God love them. But I mean, I did not see a lot of your average, common, just regular voters there. It was at looking like a high rise somewhere, and most of the people in the photo were press.
Yeah. Let us also not forget something, that Eric Hovde gets to enjoy an incredible privilege that you and I do not have. We are both white males in America, but he has a step over us in privilege, which is he gets to say, I guess I'll run for Senate again.
Right. Yeah, he's done it twice. He lost, of course, last time to former Governor Tommy Thompson.
Yeah.
And who went on, was beaten then by Tammy Baldwin. And Tammy has done nothing but a spectacular job, as we talked about before, whether it's on immigration issues or roads or health care. She helped get the 988 number for mental health and suicide prevention passed. It's successful, phenomenally successful, saved thousands of lives. I mean, she just, all Tammy Baldwin does is get results. All right, that's all she does. And here you got a guy who is Eric Hovde, OC Eric Hovde, on National California Day. And now it turns out, he put out a press release this morning that his number one issue in this race is having more Wisconsinites wear porn mustaches like he has. So I thought that was interesting.
Oh, God. Well,
have you seen that? Have you seen his mustache? It is not that I watched a lot of 1970s porn, but it's a quintessential porn mustache.
So this is an unpopular opinion. I don't mind the mustaches, and I don't mind his. And I
really
sympathize with his. Well, I sympathize with him for his mustache because he and I do not have long upper lips. So therefore, our mustaches are rather short. And if you cut them over the lip, they're not good. So he grows it down over the lip. I was talking to Jane Mattinair, and she's listening to this right now as she's driving in.
I cannot believe. Go ahead.
It some length, and then grow the sides down a little bit. Just give it a little, just a little bit of sheriff. Just a little bit of sheriff.
You're saying, wait a minute, you're advocating for short-lipped men? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I'm a short-lipped man.
I'm a guy who was born with a cleft palate and a cleft lip. So I mean, look,
all right, I'm sorry. We can't all be cool like you with your local grocery store money and your awesome mustache.
No, I didn't know. I'm saying back in college, I grew a mustache that looked like a porn mustache.
Yeah.
And so I mean, as but you mature. I have a beard now, which I think looks better than. And I'm not talking about a girlfriend, but I'm talking about actual hair on my face. But I came out years ago, but I have a beard now, and but the point is you have to go with the times. You understand? Eric Hovde is not only are his policies lost in the 1970s, his mustaches as well.
Todd, I got bad news for you. You are not up on what the kids are doing. Those mustaches are popular. Those mustaches are in vogue. People he's trying to connect with the kids. And he won't because he's way richer than all of them put together. And
you think that's why he's doing it, to connect with young people?
I think he's trying to look cool. I think Wisconsin landowner and mustache haver Eric Hovde is trying to look slick.
Well, that's fantastic. That's very interesting. Well, it is National California Day today, so to Eric Hovde and all who celebrate, happy National California Day. It is
all
also
those who celebrate.
Right, well, it's also National Chili Day. How about that?
Ooh.
Now, here's a question: Are you a bean person in your chili or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I don't. They make me fart, and I'm just not.
Okay,
it's not something you want. I don't like the consistency of those kind of beans and chili. So I'm more of a goulash. So I put a tomato juice and elbow macaroni and ground beef. Also, here's a hot tip: a little bit of chocolate bar will make it very smooth.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up today. We'll be back in Hayward tomorrow for more Civic Media This Morning with Greg Bach. Stay tuned. We have Earl Ingram on a lot of our stations and Chad Holmes on WXCO in Wausau. And then Greg is back at 10 o'clock with Jay Mattinair on the air. We'll see you at noon. Have a great day, everybody, when you're up north.
I